Hi children, happy morning. Hope you all are doing fine. Staying indoors because the lockdown has been extended, children. Please do take a complete care of yourself with all the precautionary measures and stay indoors, children. Okay? Let's learn history today. Okay? We had already learned one chapter in history, the modern period. Okay? Today, let's learn the next chapter. Let's get to know about the lesson, the expansion of British power. Okay, in this, let's see how did British occupy all the territories. It started with trade and it occupied all the territories, that is, trade to territory. Now let's learn the keywords and their meanings. Try to connect the keywords in the forthcoming lectures. Okay. So the first one is charter. What is a charter? It means a written and a signed declaration that it is a very important document. Customs duty. Money charged when goods from one country are brought into another country. That is, when goods are being exported from one country to the another country, they have to pay some amount of money, okay, to to get these goods in the another country. The another one is Diwani, the right to collect revenue from a particular area. Next one is Heer, person with legal right to the property and money of someone after the person's death. Next is musket, a type of gun with a long barrel. Next one is thuggy, a crime common in India where highway robbers called the thugs killed travelers and escaped with their valuables. So what are the keywords we learn now? Charter, customs duty, Diwani, Heer, musket and thuggy. Now let's see the overview of the lesson, the expansion of British power. In that, let's see the introduction, then the arrival of trading companies, the trade rivalry, the British in Bengal. Under that, we will learn two battles, that is Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. Then another topic, growth of British influence. Under that, we will be learning about the wars with Mysore, war with the Marathas. Then another topic, expansion under Lord Wellesley. Okay, then we will talk about the subsidiary alliance. Then let's see how British expanded themselves, and then finally British under Dulles and the structure of administration. All these topics we learn under the lesson, the expansion of British power. Let's see the introduction of the lesson, the expansion of British power. Like how did British come inside India? Okay, so merchants and traders from Europe, okay, and Asia came to India very regularly. For what did they come? In order to expand their trade, okay, in the medieval period, which we learned in our last chapters. Okay, the Indian rulers also supported this trade between like Europe and Asia, because it is kind of, it was very profitable for India also. So, in the early 17th century, the trade was happening only with the individual merchants. They just came to India for their own trading purpose. Later on, what did they do? They were kind of, like having a hold of their own countries. Like, for example, Europe. The European countries began to form trading companies to trade with the East. So, they became the English East India Company. Okay, it was started by the group of merchants. A lot of merchants joined together to start this East India Company. Okay, in 1600, Queen Elizabeth I gave a charter, okay, which granted the company the exclusive rights to trade with the East. So the European countries had a declaration stating that no other trading group from England could compete with this European country. See another important topic, arrival of trading companies. Okay, when did this arrival happen? It happened from 17th century onwards. Okay, many trading companies such as Portugal, Holland, England, France and Denmark, they had set up their base in India in order to have a smooth functioning of their trades. Okay, and they had set up all their base in the coastal areas because of the shipment, because of the distribution of goods, and these centers are being called as factories. It is not been named as factories because these goods are being manufactured there. It's just because the officials of the companies are called as factors. Okay, these factories consisted of offices and godowns. Okay, they had their own offices there and the godowns, the place where they have stored their goods, and they had the residential quarters for the merchants and the traders who came for trade. They of course had their housing facilities also for the people who had come there, the traders, that is the merchants who had come there for trade. Okay, so which are the five companies who had set up their base in India? It is Portugal, Holland, England, France and Denmark. Let's get back to the another topic, the trade rivalry. What is rivalry? It is a competition for the same objective, to be the superior in the field. Okay, so there was a competition between Portugal, Holland, England, France and Denmark. For what did they have this competition? For many other products. What are the products? Let's see. For spices such as pepper, clove, cardamom and cinnamon. Along with that, there were some other products such as cotton, silk, indigo, saltpetre and other products also. So all these companies such as companies which have set their base in India for Holland, Portugal, England, France and Denmark, they were all kind of having the intense competition among all these products. So what these companies did, they wanted to buy the products with a very low price and sell it in their own countries with the high profit. Okay, so when all these companies were kind of fighting with each other, so what will happen automatically? The profit ratio will shrink, isn't it? It will reduce. The only way to increase the profit ratio is to eliminate too many competitors in the field, and they wanted to have a trade monopoly. Okay, so these companies, they had built their own armies and they were not averse to use their force to achieve their goals. But while fighting itself in the due course of time, what had happened? The Portuguese, the Dutch and the Danes were ousted from the Indian trade. And who were the key players there? It was English and the French. Okay, they were kind of dominating the trade between India and Europe. So again, the English and the French people, they had a clash between them. They had a strong rivalry between the Anglo-French. Okay, so the presence of these two traditional rivals and the clash of trade interests between the two led to a series of war. Because of these kind of rivalry, that ended up in wars. Okay, the first war was the Carnatic War. It was the most battle were fought in the region within the present state of Tamil Nadu. This Carnatic War had fought between the state which we are living. Okay, the English and the French clashed thrice in the Carnatic Wars. Okay, the wars lasted for nearly about 20 years. How many wars were there? 3 wars. Okay, so 3 wars, it happened in the state of Tamil Nadu, that is the state which we are living in right now. And they were about for the 20 years, they were about 3 wars. Okay, from 1744 to 1763. In that war, the English people, okay, the British power had set up a very strong establishment because they won the war and they just threw off French away from this. Okay, So, who had won this Anglo French rivalry? It was actually the English. Okay, they only won this Anglo French rivalry after the Carnatic Wars, that too after the three Carnatic Wars, which held nearly for 20 years. Now, let's see another topic, the British in Bengal. Okay, this had happened in early 17th century. Okay, this British, they kind of requested the Mughal emperors to give them some concessions and privileges in order to have a effective trade, but the Mughal emperors did not do so. After the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal empire became weak. So the company, the East India Company, took advantage on the same, and they wanted to intensify the operations in Bengal, which was the richest of all the provinces. The reason they occupied Bengal is it was the richest of the other provinces. Okay, so in 1717 they succeeded in obtaining the right to import and export of goods without paying the customs duty. Because they didn't pay the customs duty, what had happened, it resulted in the a huge loss, an enormous loss of revenue to Bengal. Because of this, the Bengal rulers had a conflict with the East India Company, that is the English East India Company, in the first half of the 18th century. Bengal was ruled by the Murshid Qali Khan, Sujauddin, and then the Alivardi Khan. So these people, what did these rulers do? They wanted to keep these rulers a check, so they had laid two conditions. Okay, the first condition was the officials of the company engaged in the private trade shall pay customs duty, or the privilege of not paying the duty will be withdrawn altogether. If these these company officials who were having the private duty, the private companies, if they do not pay the duty, with Bengal, so what did they do? They kind of thought that they'll withdraw the entire privilege. Okay, and once it's been withdrawn, they will not be extend to do all this fortification. These were the two conditions which were being laid down by the rulers, that is the Murshid Qali Khan, Sujauddin, and then the Alivardi Khan. But this English East India Company were very strong, because the military was supporting them to expand trade and to secure markets. So because of this, now they started to annex territories in India. In 1756, Siraj ud Dawla, what did he do? He became the Nawab of Bengal. He got really angry with what is happening with company. So he said to remove all the fortifications in Calcutta. Now it's been called as Kolkata. Okay, the company refused to do so. So the Nawab sent his troops and occupied the company's factories in Kolkata. The British officials were alarmed by his development. Since the ruler Siraj ud Dawla sent his troops to remove this company's factories in Calcutta, so what did they do? They wanted to depose Siraj ud Dawla and install a puppet ruler, that is another ruler who listened to the company's policies. Okay, so this led to the wars. Now let's see the Battle of Plassey, 1757. Okay, on 23rd June 1757, the armies of Sirajud-Dawla and the English East India Company met on the Battle Plassey. Okay, Plassey, the British forces were led by the head, the Robert Clive, and the armies of Sirajud-Dawla was led by Sirajud-Dawla. Okay, Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of the Nawab, and a large section of Nawabs loyal to Mir Jafar did not take part in the Battle of Plassey. Okay, and apart from that, Jagat Seth, the richest banker of Bengal, also refused to help this Nawab, okay, Sirajud-Dawla. So what had happened? Since since like a large army did not support them, Sirajud-Dowla was defeated. Then he was imprisoned and later he was killed. Okay, so the British made Mir Jafar the Nawab of Bengal. So as they wanted a puppet ruler, they decided to have Mir Jafar as a puppet ruler, after the ruler Sirajud Dowla. So this battle of Plassey is kind of a very important in the history of India, because it is where a step of transformation of small trading company to a supreme political power has happened. Okay, now let's see what has happened after Plassey. Okay, after they conquered Bengal, Mir Jafar was the puppet ruler. As I had already told, he was kind of listening to all the rules and regulations by the East India Company. Okay, they constantly demanded money from him. So this Mir Jafar was kind of like pleasing them with money whenever they were asking him. When at one particular time when he was not able to give lot of money, he was replaced by Mir Qasim. Okay, there was another ruler, another puppet ruler, Mir Qasim. The new Nawab rewarded the company by granting it the right to collect revenue of the districts of Burdwan, Midnapur and Chittagong. Okay, so this Mir Qasim was asked to collect the revenues from the other districts of Burdwan, Midnapur and Chittagong. So how long these people could be kind of puppet rulers? For very little time, isn't it, children? So they cannot be a puppet ruler listening to all their obligations all the time. So after some time, Mir Qasim tried to free himself from the British control. He didn't wanted to have a control over him. So he dismissed the court officials who favored the British. Okay, so he hired European experts to train his army. Whose army? Mir Qasim's army. He also abolished all the duties on internal trade so that both Indian and the British merchants could trade on equal terms. Okay, he kind of didn't wanted to give every other profit to British, so he wanted to have equal terms on trade for themselves also. But this was completely unacceptable by the British merchants. That is the reason they kind of even killed who's that ruler, children? Sirajud Dowla also, right? Now they are not able to digest what Mir Qasim is also doing to them. This was completely unacceptable by the British merchant. This again what happened ended up in the another battle. The British now decided to depose Mir Qasim also. Let's look at another battle, Battle of Buxar, which happened on 1764. Okay, the British defeated Mir Qasim in series of battles. A lot of battles were being fought between Mir Qasim, but who defeated it? The British defeated it. So Mir Qasim fled to Awadh. Okay, what did he do there? He formed an alliance with Sujadud Dawla and the Nawab of Awadh and Shah Alam too. With all these Nawabs, he formed an alliance. So again he wanted to meet British in the Battle of Buxar, which happened on 22nd October 1764. Again the Indian army was defeated by British. A treaty was signed and Shah Alam II granted the company the Diwani of Bengal. Now no other go. They had granted the complete Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, okay, to whom? To the British. Okay, Suja'ud Dawla was made to pay 50 lakh rupees as the war of damages. Since there was a lot of damage, so Suja'ud Dawla had to pay 50 lakh rupees. Okay, so Mir Qasim was deposed and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab. The Battle of Buxar was a decisive battle in Indian history. So these battles, Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, was kind of a very decisive battle in Indian history. The weakness of Indian armies was thoroughly exposed in the Battle of Buxar because this Mir Qasim had three Nawabs in their hand. That is, one was Suja ud Dawla, then the Nawab of Oudh, and Shah Alam too. Irrespective of having all these Nawabs in hand and with their armies also, the British defeated the Indian army. So the Nawabs of Oudh and Bengal and the Mughal emperor now became dependent on the English East India Company. So total financial control over the rich eastern provinces gave the British an enormous resource for the next round of expansion. See what has happened to Bengal after this battle of Buxar. Okay, after the serious victories, that is, they won the Battle of Plassey, then they won the Battle of Buxar. Okay, the East India Company became the real rulers of Bengal because they had defeated every other ruler, so they had become the real ruler of Bengal. So, what had happened? The military came under their control. Revenue began to be collected directly by the officials. A small amount of revenue was given to the Nawabs to run the administration only. The entire revenue was collected by the British, okay, but a little amount was given to run the administration. So the British had all the power and the income but no responsibility because it was kind of the administration was led by the Nawabs, okay. But in the other hand, the Nawab had all responsibilities but no power and no stable income because all the income was being collected directly by the officials of the company. So this unique arrangement is generally known as dual or the double government. So what is a dual government which has been happening here? One is the British who's been kind of governing the Bengal, and the Nawab rulers who's kind of taking care of the administration. British is kind of collecting the revenue and the military is under them, and the Nawabs are kind of taking care of the administration. That is why this is called as dual or the double government. The people of Bengal suffered immensely under this system of dual government. Even during the famine which struck Bengal in 1770, neither the company nor the Nawab provided any relief to the people because there was a dual system of governance which happened in Bengal. Now let's see, because of this people were kind of very badly affected. Now let's see when did this end. Okay, this dual system of governance ended up in 1772. Almost nearly 2 years the people were kind of stuck between these dual government. Bengal was brought under the direct control of the company. The new Governor General Warren Hastings, okay, embarked on the further expansion of British influence in India. So we conclude to say that Bengal was kind of completely controlled by the British, okay, the English East India Company. Okay, now let's have a quick recap of the lesson. The expansion of British rule. Okay, there were arrival of trading companies like Portugal, Holland, England, France and Denmark. They decided to have their base in India in order to have a effective trade. Then there was a trade rivalry which happened between all these 5 countries. Who won that? The English and the French became the key players by dominating the trade between India and Europe. When these two companies, they had a series of wars, that is, they had a Carnatic war in the state of Tamil Nadu, okay, which happened thrice between 20 years, that in 1744 to 1763, okay, nearly 3 wars which had happened. And finally, the British, they won the war. Okay, so the British had come into the another province, the richest of province, it was Bengal. Okay, they tried to have the control of the Nawabs in their hand, but unfortunately it did not work out. So they wanted to have a puppet ruler by deposing Sirajud-Dowla. Okay, who was the puppet ruler? It was Mir Jafar. Okay, so Sirajud-Dowla was kind of killed in the Battle of Plassey, which happened in 1757. Okay, then even Mir Jafar and Mir Qasim were not able to kind of accept this control of British, so they wanted to have a war against the British, which happened as Battle of Buxar in 22nd October 1764. Again, what had happened? The complete Indian army was defeated by the British government. Then they won the Battle of Buxar. Then like after this Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, the Bengal government had a dual government. That is, the administration was done by the Nawabs and the revenues was collected by the British officials. So this dual system of governments in government ended up in 1772 because the people were immensely suffering because of this dual system. As this dual system of governance ended in 1772, new Governor General Warren Hastings, okay, he took the complete control of this British. I hope the video lecture was useful to you children. Kindly go through, just read pages 10, 11, 12 and 13 and get back to me if you have any doubts or clarifications. Please try to create a timeline for this particular part which I have explained to you. Take care children. Meet you all in the next video. Stay home, stay safe. Bye bye.